Ready to elevate your life? Join me on the Vitality Vibe podcast for inspiring conversations on holistic wellness, personal growth, and sustainable success while nourishing your body, mind, and soul. It's time to reclaim your radiance. In the blue zone of Ikaria, Greece, the residents believe that the only reason they live past 100 years is not because of what they eat, but because every night a chair is sat at their table, hoping that somebody they don't know shows up and shares that meal with them. They never ask each other, "What did you eat last night?" but always ask, "Who did you eat with last night?" My hope with this podcast is that you leave a seat open at your table and welcome today's guest to your meal in a toast to the biodiversity of your nourishment. Welcome back, Vibe Tribe, to another episode of the Vitality Vibe podcast. Today, we're diving deep into the world of energy healing and transformation with a truly remarkable guest. She's an energy medicine practitioner, a shamanic practitioner, and someone who brings over 30 years of experience as a dentist to her unique approach to healing. Today, we welcome Dr. Mona Patel. With a background in dentistry, she has such a fascinating perspective on healing. Dr. Patel has dedicated her life towards guiding people toward inner transformation, helping them break free from trauma and limiting beliefs, and embracing their authentic selves. I know you, our listeners, will be eager to learn from her wisdom and experience today. So without further ado, welcome Dr. Mona Patel. Well, welcome, Dr. Mona Patel.
Oh, thank you, Laura. I'm so happy to be here. I mean, I love you, so I'm so excited.
Yeah. You know, we've been friends for what feels like forever.
Yes.
But it's really been a short time.
You're right.
But so much has happened, too.
Yes, to both of us. And it's amazing. I think we probably connected about, 3 years ago? That's what I remember. Yeah. And life has changed.
Yeah. And I just remember when we first connected, I just instantly knew I wanted to get to know you more. I wanted to know you. And so I'm so glad that we've set aside this time to share a little bit about you because you're amazing.
Oh, thank you. Oh, I feel the same, reflecting it back to you. I love your energy and I love what you're doing for people and dentists and teams. And I think it's amazing. It's much needed.
Well, the whole point in this podcast is to bring somebody to the table, somebody that we share a meal with that we maybe wouldn't have. And so just bringing you to our table today to talk a little bit about you for our listeners that maybe don't know about you and what is important in your world. And so I'm curious if you could maybe just highlight one of the most challenging times that you've gone through and maybe how you emerged from it stronger.
Oh, I know that time so well. I remember it often. It was when I was about 49 years old. I'm 55 now. And I was 49 years old and I had my fee-for-service boutique practice. I had kids in high school, and all I know is now when I look back, I remember all the roles I was playing. Amazing dentist, amazing clinician, leader for her team, running a business, CEO, perfect mother, dutiful wife, perfect house, perfect life, perfect everything. And maintaining that was exhausting. And when I look back on it now, the reason that I tried so hard to do that was fear. Fear of being seen for what I felt or how I saw myself. Okay? Not good enough, not smart enough, not thin enough, not good enough, not enough. And I'd lost myself in playing all those roles. And the fear didn't come from then, it came from childhood and an imprint. And we'll go into that later. But I remember this day where it'd been a tough day at the office. I was exhausted, putting out fires. And I think a lot of people can relate to that. And you come home, and I gotten dinner together, and I go upstairs, and all I want to do is lie down in bed. And oh, great. I'd done the sheets that morning. So I had to make the bed before I could lie down. And those fitted sheets, that was the day a fitted sheet broke me. I put the corner of the fitted sheet on, went to do the second corner, and the first corner came off. Went back, did it, second corner. Got two corners on, the third corner came off. It was just like, I did it for 10 minutes, like stupid me, right? And then I was like, oh my God, like I keep doing the same thing again and again. And I'm like, oh, wait, that's life right now. And that's when I realized I couldn't go on any longer. And I just looked up and I'm like, God, is that all there is? Is this all there is to life? Is this it? Because if so, take me now, because I can't do this for another 10 years. And that day, I went to bed. And after that, my life started shifting. I called in, a higher source, if you want to say God, the divine, universe, spirit. But there is a higher source up there, right? Out around us, in everything. And I called that in, and spirit answered. And it changed my life dramatically after that. So I remember that really well.
Fitted sheet.
A fitted sheet broke me. Literally, like, yeah. And we all know this. It's like, we all have them. We all have a fitted sheet in our life, right?
Right.
That is just like, when you just realize that that's it, you hit that wall and you can't go on.
Yeah. Well, and I love what you said there, because you stopped and you said, is this it?
Yeah.
Is this all there is? And just taking a moment to even ask that out loud.
And I felt it through my body. When I think about it, the women that the women that are listening to this podcast, we are, oh my gosh, we've achieved so much. We're doing so much. We have this thing. And so it's really easy to be disconnected from your body and how you feel. And, our mind can make stories and narratives that protect our ego. But in our body, we really know what is the truth. And that day, I felt that hopelessness in my body. Because I just crumpled to the floor, and it was like in me that I can't do this. I can't keep going on like this. And this is from a person who was conditioned from childhood to sort of cut herself off from her feelings. Right?
Yeah,
so
go into that a little bit. Like go into that. Like how, because I think that resonates with so many women.
Yeah. Well, I can share with you that growing up, we're all empathic to different levels, right? And actually, the most empathic of us end up being the most to protect, come across as unsympathetic, right? Because we're working hard to block our feelings. But when you are growing up and it's not that your parents didn't do a great job or anything like that. It's nothing with that. it is how we perceive the things that have happened to us and how we store it in our energy field and in our bodies. So growing up, I was in a home where I was looked after really well, but to be seen and to be heard, I had to step into people pleasing or being a parent for a parent because they didn't know how to give themselves emotional support. So they didn't know how to give the children emotional support, right? So again, going into that, I had to be seen, to be noticed, be a good little girl, be a good Indian girl, sit quietly. But then if I wanted to be heard, seen, people please, I became highly sensitized to my environment. And in doing that, it stores in your energy field. And you have this data that conditions you to believe this about yourself. And then as you grow, you start to perceive the world, and all the data that comes at you, that's how you react to the world. And you just carry it through and you have cycles. So, if I had to be perfect as a young person, to be seen and to be valued, oh, what a good little girl. Oh, perfect grades, perfect. Oh, you kept your dress perfectly clean. Oh, how perfect you look, right? That's the behavior in every relationship, in every situation, is what I kept reproducing until I broke the cycle.
And so through that, like when you are in that cycle, and just speak a little to how when we're in that cycle, we ignore our body.
Yeah. So we have gotten used to cutting ourselves off to feeling, right? For me, at a young age, I didn't want to feel fear, which was related to anxiety, because I was bullied when I was younger. And I was bullied when I got married by my in-laws for not being enough. But actually, now I think of them as all teachers, great teachers. They came into my life to teach me something about myself to clear, right? And in that moment, you're in this cycle, and it's almost like have you heard of the victim triangle? The drama triangle, right? There's a triangle, and we play a role in that triangle. The first point is the victim, right? Where you have that mind, and it's not that you are a victim, but it's the mindset. Why me? This always happens to me. I have to do everything. And then you are the rescuer, and you're the problem solver, and I can do it all. And you go in and step in and solve problems, even if you're not asked to, right?
Yeah.
But then when you do it all and it's not appreciated, or you're tired, you get frustrated and you get a little angry and a little irritated. And that's the perpetrator, the aggressor. And we all play a part, we'll all play those roles. So when you're in that loop, when you're playing that role, one of the first things that you can do is the awareness of having self-awareness of it. And that's the mental part, right? But the problem is that when it's here, in actuality, that imprint or that behavior is actually stored in your energy centers and your field of your body, right? We are a physical body, but we also have layers of energy. We have the mental body, the emotional body, the causal body, the spiritual body. And that is our luminous energy field that carries all the information about us in this field. And that field Like, here, do something with me.
Okay.
Okay, take your hands and rub them really, 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 really hard. Like, until they get really, 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 really hot. And now spread them apart. And what do you feel? Do you feel that little bit of energy, right? And try bringing it back and forth. Do you feel that, like, that
Yeah, you
energy?
can feel it get warmer and
Yeah, and then that's your field. That's your field, and it's all around you. Okay. And so imagine, like, you go and you meet someone and you're a good distance away, but you just have this feeling that you don't want to interact, or you're just like, you're already cautious because your field has already met them, right? Or you meet someone and you feel like, I want to meet that person. I want to talk to that person because your field is vibrating on the same frequency as them, right? So whatever has happened to us and how we have perceived that situation or that person, that information gets stored in our field, but not only our field, it actually gets stored in our energy centers. And for people who are familiar with chakras, that's the energy center. But we have 7 in our body, right? And they're our interface between our field and our physical body, right? So when I was younger, I had an interaction with a parent who was tired and fatigued and was helping me do my math and got impatient. And because I couldn't get it, unfortunately, hit me, and was like, oh my God, are you so dumb? Are you so stupid? You're not my daughter because you're so stupid, right? That fear lived in my root chakra, my very bottom chakra, which is about safety and security and stability, right? So I had to feel that in my root chakra and clear it out of my chakra, my energy center, and my field to be able to move past that imprint of fear or that.
so I imagine that this work is ongoing.
It is, because we are like onions. We peel back the layer and we're good. And then, we have a deeper understanding of ourselves. And then we have a deeper awareness. And we go back to the next layer, next layer, next layer. And we will never be done peeling the layers. But that is what our work is here.
But I imagine as we peel the layers, it allows us to expand more.
Exactly. Because what you're holding in your field, that are imprints. Think of you're born here on this in this world, and you come down as this pure essence of Laura, right? But you start to be exposed to your environment, to your parents, to your family, to your society, to your culture, to religion, to school and the teachers and all of those things. And you start to take up beliefs that are not yours. You just accept them naturally because that's the environment you're in. And so the essence of Laura, which is there, think of it as a computer, brand new Mac, right? Brand new Mac. But then you have all these icons on your Mac. And when you open them, they overtake your computer, right? And that's what's playing in your system. So you can never meet the world as pure Laura, essence of Laura, and react that way and bring your gifts, your essence, how you show up in the world that way until you clear those viruses that have hijacked it. Does that make sense?
Totally. Totally. And it's encouraging to think that the work just continues in the sense that there's not that perfectionist high achiever that we're going to just arrive.
Yeah. Such a great point, because when I was practicing dentistry, it was about the result, right? It was about not the journey, but like I go to a CE course and I'm like, okay, get it in and we got to implement and it's that, right? And what I understand now is it's about the journey. The lessons are in the journey, not the destination, not the end. So the more we take our time with this journey and learn about ourselves, we just show up as the higher version, the better versions of ourselves. And when we do that for ourselves, it spills into your family, into your loved ones, your friends, your work, everything, just everything. It touches everything.
Mm-hmm. It makes me think of, do you remember those Choose Your Own Adventure books? Did you ever read those?
No, you know what? Though I grew up in England, so maybe I didn't have, yes, I've not heard of those.
So they were fun books that you read a chapter, and then at the end of the chapter, you could choose one of two routes.
Yes.
And it would take you to a different page. So if you choose this, go to this page. And if you choose that, go to this page. And so, depending on your choices with every chapter, really determined how you experienced the book.
I love that.
Yeah. And so I think that so often we are in the mindset of start a book, finish it.
Yes.
But if we looked at life as a choose your own adventure, and like you said, just show up on the day
Yeah.
as the best version of yourself that day and enjoy that journey.
I love that. What I love about this, it really shows you that you actually have the power to choose. And we forget that. Mm-hmm. We forget that. The more that you connect, it's the work that I do with my clients now with the energy healing is bringing back. The biggest problem is disconnection with yourself and disconnection then with everything else. You feel separate. You're separate. It's separation. And in the world right now, we are, as a collective, understanding that we are unity, right? So for my clients, the biggest problem is disconnection to themselves. And what I help and we work with a roadmap is reconnection back to yourself. And when you start to reconnect back to yourself, you actually understand that you have the power to choose, which we forget, right? In everything. Yeah.
Okay, so let's just put a pin in a couple of those things because you just dropped some just lovely wisdom. Like, number one, that the work is never done. Number two, that if we do the work, we expand.
Yes.
And number three, that we have the power.
Yes, we do. That's the biggest thing. I love when I see my clients finally see that they have it in them, the power. And when usually that happens when they actually reconnect with our heart chakra, our heart space. The heart being in that place of unconditional love, gratitude, is it's the portal to your healing. And the opposite of love is fear. And fear has many other imprints with it, you know. But when we move from a place of fear that the world is against me, that the world is a dangerous place, I'm all alone, and we step into that love, and I'm not talking about romantic love, I'm just talking about love. You then realize that you are not alone, that the world is a beautiful place, and that the universe is always conspiring on your behalf. That's when the potential and the possibilities open up and the opportunities come. And you have that power to choose. And you can choose because you've reconnected with your instinct, your intuition, your higher self.
And so, okay, let's back up a little bit because I think this is just fascinating. But you were at the point of the fitted sheet.
Yes.
And now you help heal people.
Yes.
In such a different way than you did when you were a dentist practicing with a dental practice. Tell us a little bit about that journey.
Oh, yeah. So, I didn't realize, like, I was a dentist for 30 years, right? And I didn't realize I was helping my patients on a dental level, right? But I also was helping them on an energetic level. But I didn't realize that. And because I was such a disempowered empath, an empath who actually didn't know she was an empath, who just picked up and absorbed energies around her. Years and years of looking after patients, I was picking up there. And come on, we have pain. We're working the gateway of the soul, which is the mouth, and we're picking up and we take on their emotions, pain, anger, fear, and all of that stuff. It was like a bag of bricks I was carrying around. And I didn't know how to release that. I didn't know that it was not mine. Okay. So I didn't know how to release it or how to ground and all those things. So here I am carrying around other people's emotions. And it started to affect me physically because that's what happens. When you have energy that is stagnant, that is not yours, but you're carrying it around, it then manifests physically. And for me, it manifested as adrenal suppression, thyroid disease, prediabetes, insomnia, all of those things, right? Now, what happened? Fitted sheet broke me. I asked Spirit, God, Divine for help. A couple of weeks later, I saw, things to read. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Started to read things about stuff like this. And then I had these really vivid dreams, which I would never, ever dream before. Never. And or if I did dream, I would not remember. And in this dream, there was an indigenous person, like shaman or native, American, all painted in white with white feathers, and in this dream, I was sitting there by a fire in the woods and I'm tending my fire. And this person comes to me and says, can I sit by your fire? And I'm like, no, I don't know you. No. And so he left. And I woke up the next day, next night, I had the same dream again. He came back. And I was like, no, third night, same thing. And I'm like, this is so weird. Like, what is happening? Fourth night, he came back again in my dream. And I was like about to say no. And he literally looked at me and he tapped me on the head like this. And he goes, silly girl, don't you realize I'm your ancestor? And I'm like, okay. And he sat by the fire and I'm awake in this dream. And all I remember is that we're sitting there and we're communing, but we're not speaking. But it's almost like he's transmitting knowledge to me. And then at the end of the night, he takes this big horn of light, a cornucopia of light, and it's so bright. And he places it into my root chakra. And my whole body lit up. And I just woke up that day and I just felt so different, so shifted. And then I started to hear, and after that happened, suddenly my practice was sold. Wasn't planning, but it got sold. And I worked as an associate. Then we weren't planning to, but we bought a house in Florida, in Jupiter. We weren't going to buy a house in Jupiter. We weren't looking, but it happened. And then I was able to get out of my contract as an associate because I, sold it to these owners and I was, their employee. And suddenly I was freed instead of a 3-year contract. They were like, hey, if you train this dentist, you can have a 30-day, without any penalty. I'm like, okay. And next thing I know, I'm in Florida. And then I'm here, and suddenly I hear about this healing modality, shamanic practices from 4 different places within 1 week.
Wow.
So, well, if that's not a message, right? All these messages. And, when you hear and see things now, please pay attention because it's your guides, it's the higher, source giving you a message. And so I took the message up. I did this shamanic course for 6 months online. And at the end of it, they asked me if I would like to also teach with them. And I was yes, because I love teaching. That's my passion. And that's how I did that. In the meantime, in my practice to escape being the dentist, I had started teaching. I was teaching, with a couple of curriculums. I started teaching at UPenn, and then I started to teach sleep, and then I became a sleep coach and how to implement in the office. So I thought that's what I was going to do after I finished with clinical practice. Mm-hmm. So while I was working with shamanic and learning how to be a shaman and learning all the techniques and things like that, I was also teaching sleep, with a group. We would do online courses, and then my own business would go to practices to help them implement. And the minute I finished my course, all that just stopped. It went away. Mm-hmm. And what I knew and understood, I just didn't even question it. I was like, oh, that's not what I'm supposed to do. This is what I'm supposed to do. And I just stepped into it. And the way I see it and say it is that I asked Spirit for help. Mm-hmm. And Spirit, God, divine, came in to help me. And then God asked me for help. Mm. And I couldn't say no, of course. So that's how I'm here.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Going back to those dreams, what makes you said you never were a big dreamer, or you don't remember dreams. What do you think fueled that you were open to those dreams at that time?
God. Our the divine, our guides, our angels, highest source. They will talk to us through our dreams when we are not protecting ourselves with our mind. Right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when we're asleep, those protection, this narratives and the storytelling that we tell ourselves during the day is our subconscious is like taken over. And those messages come in the dreams. And if you want a way to remember your dreams, try this. I learned this from my mentor, right? Okay. So before you go to sleep at night, take a glass of water up to bed. And you're sitting, set the intention that you want to remember your dreams. Drink half that glass of water. Go to bed. And most of us wake up in the night, wake up, drink that water again. The rest of the water. With the intention, like, I want to remember my dream, right? And then as soon as you wake up, have a journal, you have a journal by your side, write down what you remember. So do that and see what happens in 21 days.
I love that. I'm totally doing that.
Yeah. It's such you won't believe. Like, yeah. And I received so much knowledge and wisdom and messages in my dreams. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I love that, because I think of like dreams when you wake up and you're like, what? That didn't make sense, but I love how you and your dreams, like, you stuck to it. Like, because I think sometimes we all have those dreams and then we just dismiss it.
We, in our busyness, right? And it's also, and it's a simple thing. We wake up in the morning and we're already running in our head the to-do lists.
Mm-hmm.
So for everyone who is doing that, that was me. I mean, that was exactly me.
Mm-hmm.
What I would say to you is don't grab your phone as soon as you wake up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. As soon as you wake up in that sort of like half sleepy state, set your intention for the day. Set your intention that, you know, start to think about, start saying, okay, I dream this, and just write it in your mind, right? And set your intention for the day. And then as soon as you're more fully awake, write it down in your journal. Don't touch your phone. Go brush your teeth, do what you have to do. But the minute you touch your tech, you start automatically thinking, this is what I have to do. Your brain gets bombarded with the emails that have been sent and, the messages and all of those things. Just take that time not to connect, but just be with yourself. And you'll be surprised just doing that, how many things you'll remember.
Well, I think you bring up a really good point too, because you talk about energy and how we're all energy. And I feel like sometimes we allow our tech to like drain our energy.
Yes, exactly.
Faster than we do.
Yes, faster than people, because we all form energetic cords, right? Energy. So we form energetic cords to people, to situations, to places. We form it to our tag.
Yeah. Oh, so good. So good. I can't wait to try this and report back and tell you how.
Yes, I want to know.
I know, right? So do I. So do I. Oh, this is a fascinating journey, and thank you for sharing, because it highlights that the path for everyone, number one, is unique, but
yes,
that it's also not just simple. Like it's bumpy and
it's very bumpy. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, that's okay. No, go ahead.
Yeah. What I really was nudged to say for anyone who's listening to this is that what this is a story of my spiritual awakening, right? But we all are expanding now. The resonance of Mother Earth, the consciousness is really like a mass awakening, or a massive awareness of our soul right now. And it's difficult to navigate because as you start to change in your patterns and your behavior and your thought processes, and you dive deeper into yourself, it's going to make your relationships change. And, some will be enhanced and some will drop away naturally. But if you are vibrating at a different frequency to your partner, that can be difficult to navigate. And so these are the things that, there's so many things that we can do to work on ourselves and be there and allow the space between you and your partner and your family and your loved ones if they're not understanding what you're going through. And I know that's really got nothing to do with what we were speaking about, but I just was told I had to say that because yes. And it's easy to say, okay, it's not working. I've got to leave. We got to distance or separate or whatever. But no, first of all, work on yourself. First, yeah.
I think that brings up so many good points because it's sometimes, and you alluded to this, that, we are all connected, but sometimes it does feel lonely when
it does. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it does.
Did you feel that when you were going through it?
So lonely, Lauren. So lonely. Because I was like, I'm going through this and my good friends are, having the conversations that we always had conversations about. But I didn't feel like I could subscribe to that way of thinking anymore. And you do, and you get lonely, but the loneliness is actually so good for you,
Mm.
right? We've got conditioned behaviors in ourselves to believe that loneliness is bad, that it's bad to be lonely, that it makes, for me, it made me feel like, oh, less than, or a failure, that I didn't have, all these people around me. But actually, it's not loneliness. It's the beautiful opportunity of being alone.
Mm.
And when you're alone, that's when you start hearing the guidance of your inner voice, that best, highest possible version of you. You can start listening to it, and it guides you on that journey.
Thank you. That is gorgeous. Just like mic drop right there. Like loneliness is a sign that you should be alone.
Yeah, it's a sign that you're on the right path, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And then what you find, which is what I found, which is so beautiful, was that the relationships that actually were not impacting me in a positive way, but that I was addicted to, habituated to, start to fall away. And as they start to fall away, even more space happens in your field. And then suddenly, as you open up, the people who are meant to be there, people from your soul tribe, people who are there for your highest version or to help you on that journey, start to come in. And those relationships are so beautiful and so different. And you know them, you'll feel them. Yeah.
So patience.
Yeah. Don't be scared. Like if you had a, if don't be scared. Don't be scared. You're actually really not alone. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, one theme that I've heard from your story is lots of guidance. And, just this last little bit of the conversation, that feeling of alone, but that you're not alone. So maybe just highlight some of your favorite guides in this journey, and then how we can tap into being open to our own guides in our journeys.
Oh gosh. So when I first started, I had such a strong feeling. Archangel Michael came, and I felt this huge energy, and I knew that I wasn't alone. And every time I sat and meditated, and I was taken to my inner world, that's where I went in. Yeshua, Christ consciousness, and Mary Magdalene came in. And then and then Kuan Yin, which is the goddess of compassion and love, came in to teach me compassion and love for myself. And so my guides that are unseen are all connected with love. My purpose here is just to be unconditional love for the people who need the medicine that I have for them. Right? My physical allies, or guides that came in, were the teachers at the shamanic school. And then suddenly, I started making friends with people who helped me on my soul journey. They started to come in, physical in reality. And I mean, one of my biggest guides in that is a dentist in Australia that, and we connected at a retreat for dentists, for business masterminds. And it was like, she would say something and it would be like, aha. And I would say something to her and it would be like, aha. And we just helped each other ascend. And that's the beauty of it. When you start to meet people and they say things and you start to ascend. But I want you all to remember that there are going to be people in your lives that took on the hardest job. And the hardest job is to come here and trigger you. Okay, so let me backtrack. So when we're souls, we come down and we're born. But when we're waiting to come down, we choose this experience. We choose an experience here, right? And we're all waiting, like there's a group of us. And imagine that we're just waiting at the bus stop, waiting to catch the bus to Earth and be born. And we all are just yapping away. And Laura goes, oh my God, I really want to learn how to experience love. And not just give love, but to receive love. And I want to know that because I've not really gotten an idea of that. And so Mona at the bus stop goes, okay, Laura, I'll help you, right? I'll take on that job. Okay. And so then we're born and we don't have any memory of this at all, right? And then we go along our lives and suddenly I meet you and maybe you're 23 and I'm 25 and we meet and we're co-workers and stuff. And I start to trigger you by taking credit for your work, by, doing things that make you feel less than, not worthy, not good enough, right? And actually, that was my job. And I took on the hard job of being that, that person for you. But in doing that, it will keep working on you to look into yourself to figure out how to love yourself. How to experience when you love yourself and you experience love and you're able to receive it too. So when you meet someone, we have a team member that triggers you. Mm-hmm. It's actually, they're reflecting something to you that you have to learn about yourself. Mm-hmm. And actually, they took on that hard job of being that person to do that. Their soul actually likes you.
I love that thought in the sense that, because I'm sure I'm a trigger for people.
We all are.
Right?
Yeah. You're a trigger for me. I'm a trigger for you. At some point, that will come up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so to not take it personally, though, when someone reacts to you, because maybe that was what they needed in that moment.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. That awareness. So, for example, and I will share with you that, my husband and I were triggers for each other. We were mirrors for each other, right? Until actually just recently, I went through a beautiful year of the divine feminine coming up in me and learning about the divine feminine and the masculine and how to balance, right? But in that year, that was when I realized, oh my God, my husband's soul loves me so much, so much that he took on this hard job of hurting me, of having narcissistic type of tendencies, of being the typical Indian husband, maybe, all of those things, of devaluing women because that's the conditioning in our Indian culture, right? All of those things. And the minute I realized that his soul actually is such a good friend to my soul, that he took on that hard job and I released him from that role because I understood it, our dynamic changed. The frequency changed. So just think about that because that's huge. And I'm going to share more about that, as my journey continues, but that was huge. We put people in so many roles, the roles of, perpetrator, aggressor, all these things. But when we actually realize that they're actually teachers, it changes your energy, shifts you.
That's so good. Just to think of, them as a soul and what their soul duty is, and
Yes.
a teacher, right? Like to
Yes.
really just think of it that way.
Yeah, because we're all connected. We're all part of the one, we're one.
Mm-hmm.
So our souls are always connected and supported and all support each other and loving and yes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is why. I
Mm-hmm.
know it's so hard this is really hard for people who have gone through really deep traumas and things, it's a concept that is, and I don't mean to make it sound light, but once you step into unconditional love for yourself, you realize what these people are that have caused you pain, what they're actually bringing to you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So through this, and I think you brought it up, your year of the divine feminine, but I think that also too, just slowing down a little bit to take some of this in, right? Like we can't just be busy all the time and expect any of the work to get done.
No. Well, that's the divine masculine, right? So myself was like that in practice. I'm sure you are, and I'm sure a lot of women listening to this podcast are. We are, our feminine is pushed down. Our masculine energy takes over. But the masculine energy is all about doing an action, but doing without alignment. Okay, just doing. Gotta do it, gotta do it, gotta do it all, right? But in actuality, the way it works, if we're in balance with our feminine and our masculine, our feminine receives the wisdom, the intuition, the flow comes to the divine feminine. And then working with the masculine takes aligned action. Okay. But we operate the other way around. So imagine if you did slow down and you stepped into flow and you allowed yourself to listen to the messages that your inner voice is giving you, your higher self, and then you took action. Right? The best, one of the ways I can physically explain it in a dental practice is the times that I was control master, so I'd look at the schedule. And when the day was like, oh, no, can you move this person this way, move this person this way, and to make it look aligned and efficient, that's when it was the worst. And the days where the schedule was crazy, but I didn't interfere with it because we just didn't have time, it flowed so much better. So when I tried to control the schedule, it was a mess. But when I went to flow with that messy schedule, it was beautiful. Right? And the other way that I would like for everyone to see it is that imagine you're sitting on a beach, right? And the beach is your neutral place. And the sea is moving, it's choppy, and the waves are going. And that's what your life is right now, or the situation. You're sitting on the beach. You actually have the choice to stay on the beach. You don't have to step into that crazy ocean. Right? So when you stay on the beach and you stay in that stillness, that's when the flow happens.
And eventually the beach, the water calms
It
down.
calms down, exactly. And that's when you can choose to go in. Yeah. We have the power of choice. We have the power to be observers of what is happening around us. And then once we have that full understanding of the situation, we can choose to step in or not.
I dream of a world where we all operate that way.
Yeah. I mean, it would be so beautiful, but we are all at different levels, which is wonderful because we're all teaching each other things, right? But this is what it is.
Oh,
This is it.
this is it.
Yeah.
All right. This has been beautiful. And I have one more question because I think that this would, for our listeners, just wrap this with a lovely bow. But I imagine that you have certain rituals or practices that are very meaningful for you.
Mm-hmm.
And they've probably evolved and changed. So maybe share one that is really dear to you, and maybe with some hints of how we could become more open to rituals in our own life.
Yeah, that's such a great question, Lauren. So I actually have a spiritual hygiene practice in the mornings, which is not just prayer, but it is intention. It's clearing my energy. It's grounding. It's listening for messages and then praying, right? And it's evolved over the years. And when I was first starting off, the first thing that I would say is a lot of us are operating on fear, anxiety, busyness to do. And to be able to get into a place of awareness, gratitude, right? So start your morning, and it doesn't have to be a huge thing. Just think of 3 things that you're in gratitude for in the morning. And it could be, oh gosh, I woke up on time. Or, oh, this coffee tastes so great. And I always made one gratitude thing about my husband so that I could actually see him for who he is. And I would do the same thing at night. Gratitude, 3 things in the morning and 3 things at night. And you could do it so simply, either write it down or just think it. Okay. The second thing I did was moving energy. Now I move energy differently now with all of the things that I know. But when I first started out, moving and moving or clearing your energy, one of the best things is to move, right? So how do you move energy? If you have time, get outside and go for a walk. Okay. If you don't, dance, right? Put on it, like if you have 5 minutes, do a soundtrack of 5 minutes of music with no words and move your body in ways that you normally don't move. So not your regular dancing, but like really like dance like you're a child, shake it out, like, I mean, honestly, sometimes if you see me, I look like I'm a tribal, dance person and I'm shaking and shaking and jumping up and down and all of those things. But that shifts energy. Another way to shift energy that's stuck is vocalizing, right? So you just like scream out and just say, whatever I'm feeling, I'm letting it out, right? So those kind of things are called non-linear movement. And that's a really good way. And meditation in the morning. Okay. Which now is like, oh my God, where do I find time for meditate? So when I talk about meditation with new clients, it is not about meditation is not being monk-like and sitting with your back straight and all of those things. You can do it. I started with doing it in bed when I just woken up, lying there, and just picking like a mantra, but it doesn't have to be a mantra. It could be just a word, right? So mine was one. And I would just think of one. And every time my thoughts would flit away to what I have to do, I'd just bring it back to one. And when I thought that and I was just still, it started me in a place of stillness. which then opened up the day. When I didn't do it, it was like you get into your day without even thinking.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that I would suggest is a grounding practice.
Mm.
Okay. That, if you can't do any of those things, a grounding practice is beautiful. It doesn't matter when you do it, but it's a beautiful thing. And you could be sitting at work, you could be sitting in the car, you could be just anywhere. And you have both your feet on the ground. And you just imagine these beautiful roots of light coming from your feet and your root chakra, which is at the base of your spine. Just these beautiful roots of light traveling down, 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 down into the earth, through the basement, through the layers of earth, through all the different layers of Mother Earth, Pachamama. And she just imagine those roots going down into her crystalline heart, into her molten iron heart, right there. And you just imagine those roots of light that you're sending down, connect with her heart. And then as you breathe in, you're breathing her beautiful energy up, up, up into the roots. And you're just feeling her energy come up, up, up. And you allow it to come up to your energy centers, up your spine and into your heart. And as you breathe out, you just breathe out the overwhelm. Whatever you're feeling that's making you feel not yourself. And even if you do that for a few minutes, it will really bring you to that place of center. And the last thing I would say is breath work. And the easiest thing to do is the box breath, right? Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4. And as you do that, you will notice the adrenaline and the cortisol that creates that fear, flight, fright start to go away. And that most of us are living in that. Mm-hmm. So breathing is really important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm. These are beautiful in the sense that we all have access to these.
Yeah. And please know, do it imperfectly. Mm-hmm. It's not the actual, don't be perfect. Mm-hmm. Do it imperfectly. But if you set the intention, that is more important than anything else. Mm-hmm. If you say, I'm just going to sit here and ground, my intention is to ground, the universe hears you. It doesn't matter if you do it a different way, or it's not quite the way that I said it. It's okay. It will happen because your intention is the most important thing.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing you.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's so wonderful. Oh. Thank you.
If somebody is curious and wants to explore more of you and what you do and how you work with clients, what would be the best way?
The best way is to connect with me. I mean, I'm on social media. I have a website, but I have a link to book a discovery call, like to see, what's happening and if there's something that is there that I can help with.
Perfect. We'll make sure and have that link in our show notes below.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. Thanks for taking us on this journey. Namaste. This has been wonderful. So much. I can't wait to just re-listen to this.
Thank you, Laura. It was just so beautiful. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. All right, everyone. Thanks for being with us on the Vitality Vibe. We hope you reclaim your radiance today. Set your intention. Thank you, Mom.
Thank you, Laura.